Olá, boa tarde a todos. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much once again for being with us. We are at MONSTRA at home. This virus gives us this, I can say also a chance to share in a different way the films that we prepare for our short competitions, shorts, students, super shorts and Portuguese. And I hope all of you are inscribed and are seeing all the films that we have in our festival online. If you don't have, you have still this night and tomorrow all day to see it. You must run because it's 169 films to see. Quite a good challenge. For those that already see, I hope you can continue to see. We have already some votations from the audience. And today, I must tell you immediately that just after this talk, 7:30, we're going to make a meeting between juries and directors, and we're going to announce the winners from this online festival, MONSTRA at Home. Then you should be with us the whole afternoon and maybe a part of your night before our dinner, a little bit later dinner, and to see and to know what were the decisions of our jury. But for now, and to complete these 6 talks about different aspects of the animation, because we had composers, we had people from stop motion, we had educators, illustrators, we had directors also, of course, we had historians and producers. And to close this series of talks about animation, we have someone that, first of all, it's already a very good friend, but is also someone that shake our bodies, our minds, and our thoughts also as animators, telling us, showing us, and essentially teaching us what is this relation between the body, between the actor and the animator. Thank you very much, edhooks, to be with us. Thank you for accepting this challenge to talk a little bit about your fantastic work that you have made during several years and a little bit around the world. And maybe the first question I put to you, it's a little bit to begin our talk. It's why you teach acting to the animators of, yeah.
Well, first of all, I just want to tell you how honored and pleased I am to be a part of this. MONSTRA is world famous, and you, my friend, are world famous. And it is a true pleasure to have the opportunity just to talk with you, to spend some time with you this way. I'm so sorry that the event this year, has had to stop. And we're doing this though, but it's the work that you put into it, you and your team. I just am amazed at the quality of what you do, and I'm your biggest fan. I just want you to know that, and I'm so privileged and so honored to be a part of this. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the answer to your question about acting and animation. Acting and animation are two different art forms. Animation, of course, is a visual art form, and acting is a performing art form. But they have certain overlapping aspects. So the animator, the animator is not the actor. There's a famous saying, there was an animator named Chuck Jones who was asked, he's the one who did Road Runner and Bugs Bunny and a bunch, and he said, he was all the time asked how he did what he did, and he said, well, I'm just an actor with a pencil, was his answer. Well, that answer, although I understand it, is not literally correct. Chuck Jones was an animator. He was not an actor. From the audience's perspective, Mickey Mouse is the actor, not Walt Disney. So the relationship of an animator to the animated character is one of empathetic direction. So you have a character there that's an animated character. And that character needs to act because you're dealing with storytelling, and this character is on stage. The character is the point of contact between the audience and the screen. So what you want to do is you want to be able to help your animated character be a good actor. And in order to do that, you as the animator really need to have a good understanding of what acting is, of how it works. You need to have really as much an understanding about acting as an actor like Anthony Hopkins. You as the animator are not going to get up and act. You don't have to do that. You don't have to get up and be in front of thousands of people and cameras and lights. You don't have to do it, but your character does. So you need to understand certain things about acting. What I teach in my master classes is classical acting theory. It goes all the way back to Aristotle, that Aristotle said in the Poetics, every human action has a purpose. Every human action has a purpose. All of acting theory is really based on that very simple idea. Konstantin Stanislavski, who's considered the father of modern naturalistic acting. And by the way, Stanislavski did not invent method acting. A lot of people think he did. He did not. What he did was something called a system. And method acting actually was invented by Lee Strasberg in New York. It's actually Lee Strasberg's method is how that works. But a lot of people think that Stanislavski invented method, and he did not. But Stanislavski, at the time, this is a little history, which is interesting. And this was back at the turn of the century, 1900, a couple of years before that, when Stanislavski began his work. At that time, acting was very popular. It was very stagey looking. It went almost like animated pose to pose. So if a character was distressed, the actor might do some sort of thing like this, or so they were poses, and there was an Italian actress named Eleonora Duse, who was self-taught. And Eleonora Duse behaved on stage very naturally. People who saw her said that you could see her blush. And she became very famous, Eleonora Duse, for someone who could do this incredible thing. She appeared to be very natural. The other very popular actress of the day was Sarah Bernhardt. And she was the one who did all the posing. So you had two there. So Stanislavski and his friends, who were young actors in Russia, they saw Eleonora Duse perform on stage, and they were mesmerized. Oh. And they said, how do you do this? They went to see her. And Eleonora Duse would not tell them. I'm not sure she even knew how she did what she did, but at any rate, she wouldn't tell them. And the beginning of Stanislavski's work with actors was he and his fellow actors trying to figure out how to do what Eleonora Duse was doing. That's where it all started. How do you be natural like that? And he began to work with, well, you have the emotions, and then your emotions lead to your action, and you play things and you don't think about it, and it becomes, he had all these theories that he came up with. That was the beginning of Stanislavski's work. Significantly, In Stanislavski's lifetime, by the time he fled Russia because of Stalin, he fled Russia, he went to France, he lived in Paris, late in his life, he changed his mind. He thought, in the beginning, he thought if you get the emotion right, then the action will come from the emotion. Late in his life, he said, no, if you can commit fully to a pretend circumstance, then the correct emotion will be there. So he reversed himself completely. When I teach mainly influenced by Stanislavski's later work in this way, committing fully to the pretend circumstances. Let me give you a definition of acting. Acting is behaving believably in pretend circumstances for a theatrical purpose. I'll say it again. It's behaving believably in pretend circumstances for a theatrical purpose. Behaving believably, that means believable to other humans. That means if you're going to be a good actor, if you're going to be a good character animator, you're going to have to study psychology. You're going to have an insight into why people do what they do. Leonardo da Vinci was asked one time, what is the secret of his genius? And he said, knowing how to see. He didn't say knowing how to sculpt, knowing how to paint. He said knowing how to see. That, I submit, is the most important characteristic of a really good character animator or a really good actor. You've really got to be a student of human behavior. You've got to know how to see. So, acting is behaving believably in pretend circumstances. It's storytelling, after all, for a theatrical purpose. There's a difference between regular reality and theatrical reality. In regular reality is what you get at the mall. It's what you get downtown, at the supermarket. Nobody wants to pay to see regular reality. In regular reality, you show 100% of everything. Theatrical reality is compressed in time and space, and you, the artist, are only showing the parts of reality that are necessary to give information about the character and about the narrative. So you're the one in the driver's seat. You're the one controlling what the audience gets to see. That's the art of all this. And so the animator really needs to have a grasp of this acting theory. And then you have an empathetic relationship with the character itself. Your character is not a puppet. A lot of people think this, the character's a puppet and I manipulate the puppet. There's puppets, there's stop motion animation, but really you should know your character as well as you know your own self. Your character's values and preferences and dreams and fears and habits. You know all these things, and then you have the situation and the script, and the character will help you tell the story. You don't have to all the time be dictating to the character. The character will tell you what it wants to do, the impulses. So, the answer to the question is that an animator is not an actor, but an animator needs to understand acting theory. And I think going forward, because the industry is undergoing such huge changes right now, I think that this is going to be increasingly important for animators to do. And so I'm glad you asked the question. Have I answered that question?
Yes, yes, yes. No, it was a good introduction, but inside your answer, you talk about the problematics as an animator get when he's composing and understanding his character. And in your opinion, what should be the main, what if you have some suggestion, what it should be the main aspects that an animator should add before beginning working into his character and putting in the stage? That means in this case is the screen of a film or the television.
Well, certainly you should know the story. I mean, you know, I mean, everything comes from the story. The characters, the actors, don't even have a purpose without a story. It isn't like they just are there. They only exist to tell the story. So the animator needs to know what story is being told, and it needs to know the character's values. Here's something. Let me say about acting, and this is true whether it's animation or live action, is that all humans are the same. All humans in the world are exactly the same. Every human baby is born with the same potential to express the same 7 emotions, 7 core emotions: happy, sad, angry, fear, contempt, surprise, and there's one more. They always get them mixed up, but there's 7. Every human baby is born with the potential to express these. I said potential because the baby doesn't have all these coming right out of the chute. It's not. Yeah, this is why babies only express 2 emotions in the beginning. They're happy when you hold them and feed them, and they're angry when they're wet and uncomfortable, and that's about it. A baby doesn't have any use for the emotion of contempt or disgust. So you grow into these. We're all the same. Emotion is defined as an automatic value response. Automatic value response. So, for example, you and I, Fernando, we both have the emotion of fear. But maybe the things that frighten me may not frighten you because we have different values. So I come from the United States, I'm raised in this culture, you come from a different culture, you have a different family, different education, you have different life experiences. So you are the result of your own values that you have. Each human is exactly the same. We all are born the same way, we die the same way. We all have the same 7 core emotions, but each of us have different values. So your work, when you're dealing with performance animation, what your job is to understand the values of the character that you are animating. There's something called a character Bible you can put together that's basically a biography of a character. You should know the character very, very well. I see in a lot of animation, I can tell when the director is putting, or the animator is putting his or her thumb on the scales, when they're making the character do something that the character doesn't want to do. I can always feel this. And I think this is an error. You need to listen. You need to collaborate with your character. So this is all the preparation that you have. Let me say something too also. MONSTRA is the home of many, many short animations, wonderful short animations. And, but I want to say this, and I cannot take credit for making this up. I got this from Michael DeWitt, who did the very famous short animation, Father and Daughter. And he said to me one time, he said, Ed, he said, a short animation is like a poem. And he said, a long animation, a feature animation, is like a novel. I think he's absolutely right. And one of the biggest errors that I see new animators make is they try to put a novel in the framework of a poem. So you'll have a short animation that's trying to do too much. And you can tell they've got all of these rich ideas floating around, and they're trying to put it all in a 4-minute, a 4-minute animation. And you say, oh, bless your heart, you need to don't do this. This is too much. And I would just like to make that point, is that the people who are watching this, I know many of them are doing short animations for the show reel and all this. And I would recommend 2 things. One is that if you're making short animations, number 1, they're a poem. Number 2, if you can, try to make them with no dialogue or minimal dialogue, because words belong on the legitimate stage. Stage plays are all about talking, and movies are all about moving. So with animation, you want to tell the story through the actions of the character. The less dialogue that you have, the better it's going to be. And also there's a practical advantage. And that is that with less dialogue, you don't have to have subtitles. You don't have to have dubbing, different languages, and your short animation will travel internationally. And this is so important now, because this is what happens. You make an animation and you live in England, and this animation is likely to show up in Africa and Australia and all kinds of places.
What are the new challenges for the animators, for the script writers, and you know, this new way of telling a story? Because I don't know what to think about that, but I was thinking, when you write for a big screen, maybe you have a different head than when you write or you think for a TV show. Do you think that can affect also the way as the animator will sing and you think and you film and feel it?
You're referring to the story itself, the type of story and the approach to the story with the feature film? That's the question?
Yeah.
The way that I believe, I think that we are shamanistic, and I believe that the important thing is to keep in mind who you are talking to when you tell a story, whether it is short or whether it's long. Who is your audience? You need to think of it as speaking to the tribe, and they will come. And you say, why? Why are they here? Why is it a pleasurable thing to hear these stories? Why do people watch movies? And the reason is, you can find this in evolutionary psychology, is that we have very complicated survival skills, much different from your dog or your cat. We have to worry about big issues, very complex issues. And so we have this very big brain. And this is the reason why babies, for example, are helpless. Human babies are helpless for a long time. And it's because we're born before we're ready to be born. And the reason is because we cannot wait in the womb until our brain is fully developed. If we did, then the baby would be too big to fit through the birth canal. And so human babies are born helpless. And that way their brain can continue to grow outside. And you say, in evolution, you learn that there's a reason for everything, a purpose. Why? Why do we have this brain? And the reason is because we need it for survival. And we learn most of our survival strategies from storytelling, not from direct experience, from storytelling. And we humans are the only animal that in juvenile play can pretend to be somebody other than who we are. We're the only animal that can know something is wrong for us and still do it. And this is a very amazing thing. And so theater, movies, and religion are all of them tied up together. They have the same mandate, that we survive meaningfully. We survive meaningfully in life. And the church says, talk to God about it, and God will tell you. God knows everything. The theater, and by extension, movies, says, no, learn from your fellow man. Watch and see his mistakes and his successes, and try to learn. And that's a way. So we, as storytellers, professional storytellers, what we're doing is trying to find ways to help the tribe survive. And I think, in answer to your question about what do I think about when I approach story, this is the main thing. Who is the movie talking to? Who's the audience? Is it adults? Is it children? Is it local? Is it international? How big is the tribe? And why are we making this? What's the point? Those are the way I approach it at any rate.
Then you were talking about these new challenges.
Yes. Here's the thing. We have a surplus, I believe, of animation technicians. This is because of the influence, I think, largely of the big Hollywood studios, where you have assembly line work. And I think a lot of the training for animators in the world has been basically to train technicians rather than artists. And the new generation going forward is going to have the opportunity to be more of an artist. We're coming to a time where we can do lower priced productions, number one. Number two, we're moving away from brick and mortar studios, especially after this pandemic. We're not going to be, what happened there? Escape, okay, I think I'm gone. Am I being recorded?
No, you are being recorded and you are listening you very well. And we put
fine, let me then continue.
Yeah, we put this image to be under you.
Okay, especially after this pandemic, I believe that you're going to see a whole change in the animation industry. You're going to see much more independence in animators, and I believe that animators are going to operate together over long distances. The internet is going to be more important. You're going to have virtual studios. And what this means is that animators are going to have to be much more than technicians. And therefore, I do believe that an understanding of performance is really going to be very important to this coming generation. New animators today must stand on Walt Disney's shoulders. Not, what they did in the 1930s and 1940s was wonderful and amazing. And those days are gone. We now need to move forward animation is the most underused and underappreciated art form of the 21st century, in my opinion. It's a baby. And the reason is because, again, mainly because of Hollywood, because of the Disney company and Comcast and all of these. It became commercialized. It became something to sell toys. They don't even often think of movies as movies in Hollywood. They think of them as content, and they're trying to serve product, tent poles, all of this. Well, now we have streamers. Now we have Netflix and Hulu and all of these, Amazon, all of these different streamers. It used to be that even if the animators could get together and make a movie for a reasonable amount of money, they would not be able to put it on a screen because the screens were dominated by the huge studios. The system has been fixed. It was stacked. The cards were stacked against the independent animator. That is changing. And this is an extremely important moment for people. And it's an exciting time because animators today, incoming animators, are really pioneers. You're going to go to places where the past generation is not gone. We are at a changing of the guard. And therefore, I think that, that the animator today, number one, really needs to pay more attention to the art and let the technical part of this, the computer animation part, you'll learn it, you got it. They're very smart, these animators. And there's a lot of knowledge and technician there. What we need is more storytelling. We need more nuance for the characters. You know, if we were to give a sequence to 3 different animators, the same sequence, you say perhaps somebody saving the cat in the tree, you're going to have 3 different ideas about saving the cat in a tree. Maybe one person is a cat lover and another person is not a cat lover. Same sequence, same lines. All of this has to do with the values of the individual animator. And I believe that the marketplace is coming so that animators can get together. I mean, we now, you and 8 of your friends can get together with a few computers and make a movie. It's entirely possible. This was not possible not long ago. Everything is changing. And I think it's just such an exciting time for animators, myself. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it was. I was even thinking when you talk about that for instance, when Netflix produced a film that is not a normal film for Hollywood or for a big enterprise like Disney. I Lost My Body from Jeremy Clapin. It's really a natural film. This is really a challenge also for the big companies that someone as a big company also put money on quite independent production. What do you think about this?
I think that companies will invest in independent production if they can make their money back. I think that, you know, look, Aristotle said in the Poetics that every human action has a purpose. The Hollywood way of doing things, the purpose of those studios is to keep the stock moving up, to make a lot of money and to justify $1 million salaries and to support tent poles, etc. I don't think that you should go into the arts, any of the arts, if what you want to do is make money, or if what you want to do is become famous. If you want to make money, go do something else with your life. become an investor, go to work for Amazon. But if you are an artist and you want to communicate, you have an impulse to communicate with the tribe about the world, you're going to have to find investors, and those people are going to want to make their money back. It's not a charity. And as a matter of fact, I think that here in Europe, this is something that needs to evolve more, because we have a production model where you get a lot of the funding from governments and instead of independent investors. And when you have this, when people develop projects, they wind up developing projects that appeal to the people that fund, rather than to develop projects that will communicate with the tribe. So I think that this is an ongoing challenge, but everybody has to make their money back. The investors must.
Mm-hmm. To change a little bit the direction of our talk, that is important also, of course, talk about this money back, what is really the one important thing, that if you put money in something you want to get in different ways. Maybe when the government put money on cinema in Portugal, they want to have back not the money, but some prestige, some prizes for the authors, development in artists, and so on. In Hollywood, it's much more to have the money back also. It's another way to have something back. But what I was thinking, you as an actor, and some months ago, you were talking about you were working with a small group of actors in Portugal, and you were directing a piece of theater. You that worked essentially also in the last years as someone that teach acting. That teach essentially acting for animators. What do you think that? Where is your brain, or what change in your brain when you work with the real actors or when you work with the animators?
What a wonderful question. Okay, I presume, like I did recently direct a play, and I cast actors. So I cast actors that I presume know how to act. And it is not my place as a director to be teaching actors how to act. You do this in casting, and then you get out of their way. You help them, but you get out of their way. When I'm working with animators, I often am working with people who are very technically excellent, geniuses, some of them. They're very smart. And but they don't yet know very much about emotion, acting, scene structure, these things. And so I find it's my business that I must help them understand these things. And so I'm a little more, what I would say, hands-on when I'm working with animators than when I'm working with actors. It's a different standard, if you will. Not one of them is better than the other. It's just that they're different. Animation and acting are two different art forms. Animation is a visual art form, and acting is a performing art form. So animators are very oriented to movement, and actors are not. In fact, if an actor spends a lot of time thinking about movement, it becomes an acting error. Actors think about intention, destination, objective, purpose. What is my purpose? And also actors, stage actors, are really in a way sort of channeling a character. You become so identified with the character, and then you let the character speak through you. and you're on the stage interfacing with the audience itself or with the camera. An animator the character is the animated character, not the animator. So an animator does not have to channel in this same sense. And an animator does not need acting training of that sort. You're not being trained to be in front of an audience. But you do have to understand your character's values and dreams and fears and habits and the physical restrictions and the character's love life. What does the character eat? I mean, there's so many things that the same as we all know about ourselves. You should know this about your character. And then when you animate, what you're doing is you're collaborating with your character. Don't dictate to it. Animation directors tend to be much more controlling than live action directors. And this is one of the reasons why I am all the time hoping that we get more live action directors entering the animation field, because they're very collaborative by their very nature. We have some of them, Wes Anderson and some of them that have live action background, but I don't think we have enough. I mean, I want more Martin Scorsese directors in animation.
I see what you mean. Well, yeah, very, very interesting, very interesting. Ed, I have here someone that put yesterday a question. Is someone that is called Duarte, and he put a question that is about the red turtle. How the films have to find the audience, and how European films are more cerebral and more adventurous in their themes and style. Don't you think they are both important and one push the others? Like, for example, Pixar features and the shorts?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a wonderful question. Remember, Pixar, as you have the state-of-the-art skills there, animators, you have some of the best animators in the world, but Pixar is a division of the Disney company. And the Disney company is a merchandising behemoth. It's one of the largest in the world, and so is Comcast. Their entire reason for being is to sell merchandise, theme parks, toys, all of that. So they have a different purpose in making their movies, and they spend $200 million US on every given movie. This is an ocean liner of a movie. Well, we know now that you can make a movie for much less. I believe that the Red Turtle, what was the budget on that? I forget. It was less than 30 million euro. I know that.
Yeah, between 25 and 30 million, yeah.
Okay, all right. So here's the thing, how much in order for the investors to get their money back, the Red Turtle probably had to make 100 million euro at the box office and whatnot. And it did not. And so this movie is a beautiful movie, beautiful movie. I can play this. I want images. I want screenshots from the Red Turtle. I want to paper my wall with them. They're beautiful, but the movie did not find an audience, and I think I know why. And the reason is the movie is really more of a poem in a novel's clothing. And there's a scene in the middle of the Red Turtle that tells, here's the thing. You know the scene where the turtle turns into the beautiful young woman?
Yes.
She's on the beach and she turns into the turtle. Well, if you listen to the director's narration on the DVD, Michael's narration, he says, now we do not know if this is a dream or if it's real. And he said, I think that's wonderful, you know, that we have, that sometimes dreams seem so real. And so he was making this a positive thing. The connection between dreams and reality, which is fine, fine. The problem is, why do people go to movies? They don't go to movies to find out what is the connection between dreams and reality. They go to movies mainly because we learn our survival skills this way. And that movie was doing fine up until that transformation, because the audience knew that they were in the real world. The man was stranded on the island and he was trying to find a way to get off, and he kept running into the red turtle. Well, all of a sudden now the turtle turns into a woman, and the audience is saying, wait a minute, what's the reality here? And the filmmaker is saying, yes, isn't that nice? We can't tell the difference. No, right there, that's not nice. For the audience, they will begin to withdraw right there because they don't know what's real. And so now they have to continue forward with this. And so what happens in the movie is that this new reality of the woman, not the turtle, becomes a reality. And then they have a child, and then the child grows up. And so you're saying, okay, so this is the reality. But if this is the reality, what was the reality before the turtle turned into the woman? So we have confused the audience. That movie is so physically beautiful, but it will confuse the audience, I believe. And I think this is why a movie has to have word of mouth. People have to say, you must see this movie. And what we had here was every person that I know in the animation industry adores that movie. They love it. I love it. However, it confused the audience. And therefore, it did not have word of mouth. And unfortunately, not enough people saw it. And Studio Ghibli lost their investment. I'm sure they lost almost all their money with that movie. And therefore, it's not likely that they will put the money behind another movie for Michael DeWitt. And so there you go. What are the lessons to be carried forward from this? But I hope that answers the question. It's not that I don't like the red turtle. I'm Michael DeWitt's biggest fan in the world. I think he's one of the best animators in the world. But I think that movie was a misjudgment of the marketplace and a misjudgment of the audience and their motivation for watching the movie in the first place.
Okay, thank you. I suppose you got the question. I hope Duarte is fine. I have here another question for you that it was made by Nancy Phelps. And she said, what do you see as the primary difference between European and the United States animation schools?
Between, what do I see? Oh, first place, hello, Nancy, hi. She's one of my favorite people in the world. And I don't understand the question. What is the difference between the schools? Is that what she's asking?
Yeah, between the schools in the United States and in Europe, because you teach in both continents and you have a large experience. What for you, what is the big difference between these schools?
For me, there's one school in the United States that I like very much called Ringling, down in Florida.
Very nice school. Yeah. We receive very nice films from them. Yeah.
Yes, it's a very good school. And let me tell you something about that school. When I teach at Ringling, 100% of the students in that school come to the class, and 100% of the faculty come to the class. Everybody comes to the class, and they're there for all day. They stay there. Also, the people at Ringling, the students, not only are taught animation, drawing skills, life drawing, all of that, they also are taught storytelling. Every teacher at Ringling has to be able to teach story. So I think that for the United States schools, that's probably I enjoy teaching there because of that. I've taught at most of the schools over there, many of them, and they're wonderful schools. But remember that what they're doing largely is they're trying to prepare people to go to work for Disney and DreamWorks and you know, Universal. And this model is changing. And so when I teach in Europe, for example, the animation school up in Viborg, Denmark, wonderful place. And you have independent, individual young animators that are being encouraged to think creatively. There's more of the art side to it. I tell you the one in Bournemouth University in England. I remember I was teaching at Bournemouth, and there was we were on our way to lunch. I was with one of the instructors, and I saw a line of people with portfolios lined up almost around the block, just outside, standing one behind the other. And I said to my friend there, I said, "What are they doing?" Because I thought maybe they were going to a big class. He said, "Oh," he said, they're applying to the school." I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yes." And he said, "We have to look at the portfolios." And I said, "Well, how many of these people are going to get in?" And he said, "Well, maybe 20, 25%. So they are screening all of these people. There's many schools that don't screen. You know, they let people in. Art, you know, I'm a great believer. You cannot teach art. You can teach technique. You can help people be better at what they're doing, but you cannot teach someone to be an artist. You must discover these people, and then you encourage them. You give them, you water them, you help them grow into the shape that they want to be. And I find that in Europe, I'm one of the faculty teachers at Film Academy at the Animation Institute in Germany. Everybody's individual. They're not regimented. They're not a cookie cutter. And I think this is, look, my wife and I moved from Los Angeles to Lisbon, Portugal, 3 years ago. And we're very, very happy being here. I'm very happy to be working in Europe. I work a lot in Europe. And I work with animators all over the world. I see the industry changing, and I cannot help companies do it. I don't know. What I can do is I can help people who want to tell stories, that want to help the tribe, that want to help the world. And I think I share this with Nancy, frankly, and I think I share this also with you, Fernando.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm alone in this.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's we are speaking right now in the midst of still a terrible pandemic, and at a time when the United States is, if you turn on the television, cities are burning. It's terrible. Right now, the politicians Politicians will tell us why we're different from each other. Politicians will tell us why this group of people is better than that group, and why this God is better than that God, and why this political philosophy is better than that one, why we're different. Artists tell us why we are the same, why we are the same. And it is a privilege, an honor to have a profession where that is what you do, where you look into the dark abyss of life and you come back and you tell the tribe what you see. And I am so privileged, so honored to be able to teach these people, to work with them. And I hope that answers your question. The difference, I cannot help people make money. I can help people tell stories.
Yeah, no, but I agree completely with you. And in very moments, or in the 99% of the moments of my work, I feel, as you say, and as you, I feel a privilege to work with these people, because lots of them have so many things to say and to tell and to share with everybody, that no matter where they are coming from, no matter the color of the skin, everybody has a big story to tell. And this is very interesting, and very helpful, and very nice for us to see how they grow up, and how they put all these kind of things outside. And this,
Yes.
yeah, and this is beautiful. I agree completely with you. Ed, a little bit to close. I don't have here more questions for now. A little bit to close maybe our talk.
Well, I would just invite, if I could, just as a personal note, I recently started a Patreon page. And if anybody wants to support me, it's only €1 or $1 a month. It doesn't cost much. But I'm trying to gather together at that Patreon site people who really want to work for the future, who really want to change. They want to be pioneers. And I'm trying to make it a special place. And I would encourage people to join me there. And my email address, by the way, is edhooks@edhooks.com. It's easy to remember. If anybody wants me, they can find me there. And I just want to thank you, Fernando. It is a privilege to know you. You're one of the good people in the world, and a true artist. And you're a good friend, and you have 100% of my encouragement and support. And I thank you so very much. And I wish a big future successful return next year for MONSTRA.
Okay, thank you very much, Ed. It was really a pleasure. Of course, we already sent to all the people that are seeing us your connection, edhooks@edhooks.com, to contact you or to see your page. Of course, we will do some also some connections during the next times in our Facebook and other connections that we have, because it's very important to be together, working in the same direction. And I'm very proud, not only to be a very close friend of you, that you are living now in our city, in our beautiful Lisbon, but also to know that you are always open to share with us personally, but also with all our friends, your very large experience. And I want to thank you very much for this. And we will keep in contact, and we'll keep in touch. And I hope that everybody that want to continue to know more about and the work of edhooks, don't forget to go to patreon.com and join edhooks, and continues to talk with him and collaborate with him as we are. And once again, Ed, thank you very much for your talk and for this conversation in MONSTRA at Home.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.